Get ready. It's time for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavlich and Jesse Martineau.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Me and Jesse podcast. My name is Mark Pavlich, away in the Grove, the big, sexy Jesse Martineau, and our special guest today. And I have a different intro for him that he probably has never heard before. Boxing aficionado. This is a person in the boxing world that has a very, very high IQ that you might not know who he is today, but you will know who he is tomorrow. Everybody, welcome to the show. I like to call him JW, but Jonathan Walley, everybody on the show.
Thank you for having me, guys. Seriously.
Yeah, no, we're excited to have you. And yeah, like, I think that you're going to be, you know, a common name for a lot of people. Not that you care, because on your Instagram, you say you don't care about this social media stuff and, you know, it's melting people's brains, which I agree with. However, when you have an amazing skill, as you do, is it time to start telling everybody?
That's a good question. We'll see, I guess. You know, I think the more that I get into it and the more familiar I get with social media, then I think I'll open up to it. I keep getting the same answers from the same people, so I guess it must be true, right? Maybe I should start using it a little bit more, but hey, we'll see what happens.
I mean, it can get your message across, and you have a great message, and I don't want to, you know, say it all on the bat, but you've had an amazing journey from, you know, day one to where you are today, and we're going to dive into that a little bit. But first, tell us what you love about the sport of boxing.
Everything. So boxing is, for me, the ultimate, like, miracle, right? You have to, in order to get lucky, do everything every day at all times as best as you can, and that's just to get lucky, right?
Yeah.
So there's nothing about the sport that you see it all the time. You know, guys that you think is just going to get completely ran over, their life has changed now. You know, I think we saw it, you know, just the other week with Tim Tszyu. You know, he was a very good prospect, champion as well, or at least interim champion. Fought another guy, young, hungry guy that was relatively unknown. Comes in there and, you know, things align for him. You know what I mean? Nobody knew. People don't know this. That guy was number one contender for Charlo for some years. Yeah, a guy, now he's where he's gonna end up being. I think he do very well in the division, especially the way that the landscape of the division is. Like I said, the thing that I love the most about boxing is how honest it is, you know. And at any moment, you can have your time to get lucky. You know what I mean? And take advantage of that if you've been doing the right things.
Now, Mark hates the word luck, but
the way I use it,
yeah,
it's not like something.
You're using the word luck as almost as a cliche. It's not really the word luck.
No,
you mean preparation is for you, because it's like anything in life. Like for you to start with a guy like Joe Goossen, and for you to be in that kind of category with those people, how did that happen? That's the part I'm trying to relate to get to there. But what I do know this, when you start to train with people like Amir Khan, Areola, Berto, Ryan Garcia, this is not accidental anymore, right? This is like, you know, it's funny. Like, I was around you for 5 minutes, because I was in the MMA world for so long. I know people that know, and then I know people that don't know. And the second I was around you for 5 minutes, I knew you knew. But I know that you don't want too many people to know that you know. But I think it's too late now. I think it's like, oh shit, he just does know. So that's why we have you on the show, because people are like, they're going to be like, first of all, they're going to be like, yeah, I kind of know who that guy is, but I never see him anywhere. Yeah, because first of all, you don't care about social media, as Jesse was talking about earlier. And secondly, is like, you kind of like, I don't want to use the word creep around. You kind of like are in the shadow all the time. You're not in the forefront like a Goossen, like, you know, a lot of, I could start naming 20 guys that, you know, that they kind of want to be in the forefront. You kind of like are just kind of to the side. Is that, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I do. It's funny. Like one of my fighters, he did an interview today. He was like, "Why don't you stay with me?" I'm like, "Man, they got questions for you." Like, you know what I mean? um, but it's what it is this. Um, you know, the way I started boxing, it's not supposed to happen that way. What happened to me essentially is, if you watch American football, it'd be like if you um, went to a football field and like John Madden was there and was like, "Hey, you want to learn how to do this? Okay, I'll show you." Like it makes no sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it makes no sense. Like I said, and in that I have such a deep love for the sport because it really did change my life. And so I only care about it. You know what I mean? The other stuff is like very secondary. I was just telling one of my fighters managers today, they have some media stuff lined up for him for tomorrow. And I was like, okay, cool. But get here before we get to work because I don't care to take pictures and do all the
Yeah.
But like I said, what I get out of boxing is that I get to be in my gym. The only other time when I'm not in the gym is if I'm gone for a fight, and then even then, like my palms are sweating. Like, oh my god, man, what's happening at the gym right now? Like, you know what I mean?
But you're away a lot now, though. You're away a lot. I think you're maybe away more than you're at the gym. Is that fair to say? Not yet.
In spots, yes. In spots, yes. Because I do have a pretty good stable of fighters now, to where if I have I'll have 3 guys within 6 weeks fighting. You give about a week. I try to minimize as long. I used to enjoy really be gone for fight week, but now it's like, oh my god, something's happening back at the gym out there, or what's this guy doing? What's his weight like? Like, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Yeah. So now it's like when I'm gone, I try to minimize it, maybe 3-4 days max if I can. You need time to potentially get adjusted to the time change, and then obviously, you need to have you want to be there a day before the weigh-in. So just that in and of itself is 3 days. And but yeah, I really do like to think of myself as, I don't know, I guess a boxing purist in the sense of I just only care about the boxing aspect. I wish I was better at social media, but maybe I'm not bad. Maybe I just don't use it enough. You know what I mean?
That could be it. That could be it.
We'll see what happens. But like I said, you guys came with all these confidence, catching me off guard.
Yeah, but it is what it is, because it's funny. Like we've had people that like UFC superstars. We've had NHL royalty. We've had NBA, NFL, everybody. But the difference is like you fall in a category that's very different because your intellect for a sport subsedes a lot of those former guests, because knowledge for me in boxing is rare now. I believe that. I believe it's super rare. So you have people like Eddie Hearn that are promoters for boxing, but he really doesn't know a lot about boxing. Do you know what I mean? Like these are the facts. Like if he sat around for 5 minutes and you and him were having a conversation, he wouldn't be the one talking. You know what I mean? So he would know how to promote a fight, but he doesn't know about boxing, right? And it's like there's only like I know Sugar Hill, right? Who's Tyson Fury's trainer. When I sit around Sugar Hill, he's from Detroit, the same area where I'm from. And when him and I talking about boxing, it was really interesting because like you and him would sit for hours and just talk about boxing, because he comes from the Emmanuel Stewart background. That was his uncle. He was taught by him in Kronk Gym, and he was in that smelly gym, because it is. I've been to Kronk in Detroit, and it's literally like the eye of the tiger. All that. That's really what it is. Yeah. And he came from that cloth. And
funny enough, Emmanuel Stewart and Joe Goossen competing. That he's gone up against Emmanuel guys, countless times. So
forever, right? Isn't that crazy though, right?
Sugar Hill comes from Emmanuel, and I, as a teenager, Joe. That's
my point. That's my point. My point is that you literally are coming, like it's the exact same thing. But the crazy part is I can count on one hand how many guys there are like you in the sport right now. And I'm talking one hand, not both.
I feel that, and I appreciate it. And like I said, for me personally, I give all the credit to Joe. I don't think I know I couldn't have had a better teacher, because that's who he is.
Take us to that meeting. How did that happen?
It was I say it's random, but it's not random,
It's not
because
random.
I don't think things are that random for them to that, and I'll say this. I've tried multiple times to stray away from boxing when I was first starting to box.
Yeah.
Every time I tried to, it was like, oh, well, I'm back here at the gym again, and I started to listen to that pattern. When I first started, so one of my, just so you know, Joe won't train certain professionals. Like, you have to have something going into him to even for him to even consider training you. Like, you're not just gonna be some 5-0 guy coming in and working. That doesn't happen. That being said, I basically walked in the gym one day and he took a liking to me.
Wow.
That's basically how that happened. Like I said, for the basketball fans, if you wanted to learn how to play basketball and you walked into a basketball gym and Phil Jackson was there, it was like, you want to learn how to do this? Like, this, it doesn't make sense. Even when I think about it now, it doesn't make sense.
How old were you then?
I just turned 30 last week.
No, sorry,
no.
not now.
How old were you when?
Then? I was like 17.
Jeez. Okay. And so he liked you. Like, that's it. Like, he saw something in you.
It was the weirdest thing, because so one of my friends that I was about 17, 16, 17. One of my friends was being trained by him. And he very good talent. Joe was, really taking the time. With everything, there's ups and downs, right? Joe was kind of on a low swing at the time. And then what that means as a trainer is you have more time than you normally would.
Right.
It has nothing to do with anything like, what fighters you're dealing with or whatever. When I'm talking about ups and downs, I'm talking mainly about the type of time that you have.
Yeah.
At the time, he was kind of on like downtime a little bit, right? When he wasn't very busy, he was training this guy, one of my friends growing up, and he told me to come to the gym. Without getting into too much, I was kind of all over the place as a kid, and he wanted me to come. So I came to the gym and came with high praise, because I'm being very vague right now, but I grew up a certain way, and so I'd be in street fights and stuff all the time. And with this particular friend, we would have. He's seen me fighting, it was like a joke, like, oh man, you guys see Walley, like, So I came in the gym, and I don't know, Joe. We just were talking, and at the time, teenage kid.
Yeah.
I didn't know this guy from nothing. I wasn't even a boxing fan. To be honest with you, I thought boxing was corny. Like what am I do? I'm a box. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So, I go in the gym, knew him from nowhere. I had no idea. Like, I couldn't name you at the time. I couldn't name you 10 active boxers, because I really wasn't into boxing like that.
Wow.
And so, matter of fact, I was actually more into like MMA. Because the UFC was like on the rise.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, totally.
So like I said, I go in the gym, and Joe had me. I never forget. He had me punch a double in bag, and people don't know, but like the timing on the double in bag is very off. It's a very offbeat thing.
Yes.
And I couldn't really get it, and then he told me like one thing, and I got it right then. And he kind of like, all right, well, let me see on the heavy bag. So I started hitting the heavy bag. And he was like, oh, try to do this. And like one thing, I've been an athlete my whole life. So like when somebody tells me something, I will at least try to do what they're trying to say, right? And I don't understand it for myself. I just do what they're saying. You get what I'm saying?
Oh,
yeah.
Wow, yeah. Okay.
Learn how to understand it for me.
Yeah.
I just do whatever they're saying to do. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, so you do it before you actually understand it.
Yeah, because if I say something and you do it, your body will recognize the pattern anyway.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I have that skill. Like, you say something and okay, let's do that. You know what I mean? As long as it makes sense. And, a guy like Joe is not going to tell you something that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Correct.
So then I start doing that, and then, come here tomorrow. Okay. Come here tomorrow. Okay. Come here tomorrow. Okay. So we start training and stuff, and it was funny. I always make the joke like he charged me 1 month of gym membership fees, and I never paid it. And so like we always like make that joke like, yeah, I gotta get you that 120 that I owe you, right? Like but yeah, that's basically how I started boxing, and 3 weeks later, um, I ended up in the ring with this dude.
Wow, that quick.
Yeah, because I kept bugging him about it because I thought I was just gonna kick the shit out of everybody.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I started. That's why I went to the gym in the first place. I thought I was gonna be able to go there, get in the ring the first day.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I wasn't. This isn't some like Hollywood story. Like, oh yeah, my dad used to box. No. I was
Nothing like that.
That's like, you know what I mean. So that was basically how I started boxing, and so I finally go in there, and he could tell like this wasn't. He had this weird like I can tell that he had this weird like faith in me that I was gonna be okay. Where it came from, I don't know. I was going there every day. I was staying in the gym all day. He probably thinks like I had some like crazy work ethic, which I kind of did, but like it wasn't that. I lived far from the gym, so I just stayed there all day.
That's good.
So,
You didn't want to keep coming back and forth.
Yeah. So I would just be in the gym all day long. I go in the ring. I spar with this like big redhead Mexican kid. First round, again, all I have experience of is street fighting. So I just blitz him, start to finish. Now that was a good first round for me. The problem is that's one round, and so then I proceeded to get my ass whooped every other round. And then I remember feeling really bad about that. And the next day I was like, no, we're doing it again. So now this guy has my timing and everything.
Sure.
So he just kicked my ass from start to finish. And it kind of sparked something in me because I just never been taken advantage of like that, And I just meant it would never happen again. And then I just kept going to the gym and training hard. Like now I was training with a purpose.
Yeah.
Didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, I don't care. That's never going to happen to me again, ever. And little by little, and me and Joe, it's funny that we're talking about this because me and Joe were just talking about this like 3 days ago. And he was telling me, it was like, yeah, like you had this sense of like urgency when you would do stuff. And then you would pay attention and listen well. And then, the stuff that I would tell you, you were able to compute it real well. But it wasn't just me, man. It was the way he's able to like break stuff down and tell you stuff and, make small things just make a different world of sense to you.
And it'll stick. Those things will stick.
It's like he's speaking to your psyche when he's saying certain things.
Interesting. Yeah.
So it's like it's a weird thing to where I'm going like even now when I'm doing stuff like Joe's in the gym. He's in the gym daily, but I'm in the gym for a longer time than he is, right? And so like even now, like when I'm working with guys, like he'll tell me a thing and I'll go like, duh. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's like it's a weird thing because it's like, it's a mix between like, oh fuck, I've been taught that and I got away from it a little bit. Get your shit together. And then sometimes it's almost like a, hey, when you do this. And I was like, where the fuck did you get that from? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you know this? Like, you know what I mean? But it's over 50 years of experience and, the reason why he is who he is.
What's your end goal, Jonathan, in this game, in the boxing game? You don't even think about that?
I know what I'm gonna do the rest of my life.
This is it. Train.
If I hit the lotto today, I would just find a secluded spot to train fighters.
Jeez. What is it about the teaching process that you love? Like, what's that?
Development.
Watching the development or watching what you teach happen in someone else?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, because you have, so for example, like if you came to my gym right now, if you started hitting the bag, I'm sure I can find something to improve, right? The improvement on whatever we're improving on is what I like. And then, okay, eventually you're going to be confident from what you're doing. Okay, let's go try. Okay, well, maybe you get your ass kicked the first time. Well, well, let's try this again. And these gradual progressions is like what really gets me going.
I see. So, let's take someone raw or whatever, and they go through that time. If they get their ass kicked and they're down on themselves, you said after your first fight you're kind of down on yourself. How much then do you come in and try to flip the script on them?
It's funny too, because every competitor is always super hard on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
If you're really good, like I'll have times where I'm saying to myself, like, things went perfect, and I'm still like, yeah, but fuck, man, I should have did this. Because that could have led to that, and like, you know what I mean? Like, there's times like that, and then to answer your question, what I will do is this, because there is beauty in getting down on yourself and being hard on yourself, right? Because you need that. That's just you being realistic. So what I'll do is like, hey, look, this happened. Okay, now let's go from there. Like, you can't change the past anyway. Let's just kind of keep it going. Like I said, it's the development and the progression that I get really excited about, And then, not even and then, winning is at the utmost for me. Like, I'm a sore. I'll tell you right now, I'm the worst loser. Like, if you beat me, if we play like rock paper scissors, God forbid you beat me one time, because now I got to beat you 12. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we'll sit all day.
Dude,
like, you know what I mean?
I'm the same.
So
that's lost, though. Don't you think that's lost now, JW? Don't you think that's lost in the world about that hardcore competitiveness? Like, it's almost frowned upon, but in the real world, it's still mandatory, right? Like, in the real world,
you need it. You need it. I mean, I don't know how else you get ahead without wanting to win. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'll win by any means. Like, I don't care. Like, and then as far as I'm concerned, winning sometimes isn't even good enough for me. It's like things will be like a landslide victory, and I'll be like, okay, but what the fuck was this about? You know what I mean? Because the way I look at it too is, I do spend a lot of time with my fighters in the gym. And outside the gym for that matter, but in the gym specifically. And I'm not trying to put down anybody else, but like, I see what happens at other gyms, and I go like, okay, well, I'm not doing this, and you could be doing this because of what happens at these gyms and what is the norm. You know what I mean? And I'm not doing this, so this needs to get better. Whatever the this is, I don't know. I just, again, my level of where I think things should be at is a little bit higher because of who I learned it from. I grew up watching and being with Joe, sit there in 100-degree gym, brick and wood, with a jean jacket and jeans on and chucks on, and watching him grind down a fighter for 3 hours straight on a daily basis. So like, my examples are different. You'll have these guys that like to sit back, and you see it all the time. You go to most boxing gym, the trainers can't get off their phone even. On your phone is half the time. You know what I mean? So like I said, and again, this isn't like a me thing. And maybe if Joe was younger, he'd have a habit of being on his phone. But he's in his 70s. He's not used
to care. Doesn't care.
So again, like, these are my examples.
Yeah.
So where I get that from, again, my boxing journey, like, I don't even really like to take credit. I've done things on my own, but I don't really ever take credit towards it. I know where I get it from, and I like I said, I couldn't have had a better example anyway. So, I credit everything that I know how to do.
Who do you think are the 5 best boxers of all time?
So you go Ali.
Yeah.
Duran.
Ooh.
Sheesh. Ali and Duran are up there. Sugar Ray Leonard.
I love that's my favorite boxer.
Yeah, Sugar Ray Leonard, definitely.
Mike?
He's an era. Like, how do you say no to that?
Yeah. That's a great analogy. He is an era.
Yeah. The 90s, isn't
he? Can't you remember that when you say someone's an era, that means that we used to run from our car so fast when his fights used to start, and run into the place because we knew that he was going to whack the shit out of someone in the first round or two.
He had a couple seconds to go.
And so we were just like frantically. It was a frantic, like, we got to get to the place, man, because there was no other boxer in history. And I'm the biggest Ali fan of all time, but there was no human being ever that I remember like yesterday running to like a pay-per-view event where we were scrambling through the line to sit down because we knew the Tyson fight was going to start. And literally the second he whacked him, we left. Like, you know what I mean? It was like we got there.
Knockout show.
Yeah, we were just like, we wanted to see the whap and we left. And it's like
I always say, like, people had all these different criticisms for like Wilder, like, oh, he's not good, or oh, he's not technical. I'm like, say what you want to say. He's a bronze medalist. He's a WBC champion.
Yeah.
And you get in the ring with him, you're probably gonna get knocked out. So
yeah.
you know,
I agree.
I don't know if I give you a top 5, but like those are my top 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ali, Duran, and Leonard.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, those are definitely. I'll put it like this: Leonard kind of speaks for himself.
Yeah.
All these guys speak for themselves, but like Ali is a little different. I'll tell you a story. So my grandfather and Ali died around the same time.
Okay.
Oh wow.
My grandfather, he had some medical issues, and mentally I was already kind of prepared for it, right? And so I remember, like, when he died, I was crying, but I was crying because my mom was crying. I was crying out of sorrow for my mother.
Sure.
I had already kind of mentally gotten over it. Now, I was sad because of my grandfather. But, like, mentally, I'd already kind of, like, accepted it and, you know, it was a good life, whatever. The night Ali died, I remember watching it, like, on TV and watching some, like, reels that they put together. And I remember I had a fight coming up. So I went to go run after I was done watching it. And I was running, and I just started running. I remember, like, feeling like, hell, like, why's my shirt wet? And I looked down, and when I looked down, I didn't realize I was crying.
Yeah, of course.
Wow.
From, you know what I mean? Like, so, like, it's a different thing, you know? And this is like a world, you know what I mean? Like, people feel like this all over the world. Not to mention, I don't know when the last time you've seen, like, Ali fight. It is impossible to do the stuff that he's doing. Like, you're watching someone for 15 rounds, nonstop move and hit you. Like, it's impossible.
Impossible.
And then you're talking about with the best heavyweights of all time. That era was so crazy. I mean, look at the guy he beat. He beat George Foreman easy. Like,
and don't forget what people forget about George Foreman is George Foreman was Mike Tyson before Mike Tyson was George Foreman. Do you know what I mean? I think Foreman was bigger than that.
It was like you could say Mike, but there was ways of beating Mike or giving Mike problems on his way up. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You saw Tony Tucker fight. You saw, like, there's different fights that you're saying, like, oh wait, hold on, Mike didn't really look at Mike that fight. There was nothing like that for Foreman.
No, he killed people.
Him leading up, he knocked out Joe Frazier. Him leading up to Ali was crazy. Like, when you really go back and look at the history of, like, what first off, what the heavyweight division was at that time, and then the guys that he fought to beat those guys, crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
You know? And Ali goes, I'm gonna smack him up around. You know, no disrespect to nobody, but I'm just saying, like, this was the greatness of Ali. Like, he kind of made Child's Play out of a monster. You know what I mean?
Monster. See, I think don't you think, Jonathan, that's what people are underestimating because they don't know in history today about how devastating George Foreman actually. We're not talking about George Foreman grill George Foreman. We're talking about George Foreman, like psychopath George Foreman. He had issues, like there was something massively wrong with him. He was literally like violently mean. Like there was something in his DNA that was not right in his brain. And this is before Tyson ever was born. And people didn't.
The way he fought, I'll put like this, he was so destructive in the way that he fought.
Yeah.
He won a gold medal within a year of boxing.
Yeah, that's not even, you could never do that in a million years.
Like, how does that even happen? You know
that's
what I mean?
Right. That's right.
You know, when you start diving into the history of stuff, you know, you start going like, oh, wow. And then, like I said, all the guys that Ali fought, they're all Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Everyone. Yeah.
and he beat them up pretty good, all of them. So
Yeah.
it's like, they're not, you know what I mean? Like, these aren't regular guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
that's right.
That's right, because now you get like you run up that number to 29-0, but who was the guys before? Back then,
That's true. It's true.
Back then, they were all
100%.
names.
you're not, well, so just so you know, too, when you come out the Olympics, you don't get easy. I mean, he fought Archie Moore and like
It's nuts. That's nuts.
you
Nuts.
don't,
Nuts.
you don't, like, that doesn't happen. Are you
Yeah,
kidding
it's funny. It's funny because I'm glad this show happened today, because for all these people that are out there in the world, and they're all, my next door neighbors, these kids, they're high level hockey players, and they're like telling me about the greatest boxers of all time. And Jake Paul is what they're talking about. And I grab these kids and I go, listen, kids, please don't.
They're talking numbers. But see, here's the funny thing though, right?
Yeah.
That's their error.
Yes,
You get
exactly.
That's their
Yeah.
Correct,
So,
but that still doesn't take away. That still doesn't take away
No,
from
it
the
doesn't.
era.
It doesn't.
If
It
we
doesn't.
talk about the greatest basketball player of all time, it's Michael Jordan. It's not
Yeah.
LeBron. And people. But then this new generation goes, "Oh, it's LeBron." But we're talking about basketball, okay?
Yeah.
So we're saying, and then we talk about hockey. There's all these great hockey players today, but Wayne Gretzky's the greatest hockey player that ever lived. You don't have to be. You can psychoanalyze it 40 ways from Sunday, but I don't care what age you are. You have to take that into consideration if you're going to
put it
talk
like this.
about a sport.
I put it like this. Anytime where, 30, 40 years later, the same name is still top of the list,
Correct.
leave it alone. Leave it alone.
Leave it
Exactly.
alone. Leave it alone. That's really
I
good. I like
agree.
that.
I agree.
So that's what that is.
Side note: Michael or LeBron?
I go Mike. I haven't played basketball too. So LeBron is genius.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed.
He can do everything.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan stayed in his lane and still dominated.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
That's really good. That's an amazing way to put that, actually.
The first time anybody.
I
put
haven't
it
heard
way.
it that way before. That makes so much sense. LeBron does everything.
Yeah.
Michael stayed in his lane and still dominated. That's
Yeah.
incredible, actually, when you think about it like that.
And like when you're looking at, like, for example, you hear these guys talk about how they were afraid of Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody say they're afraid of LeBron.
No.
Never.
Not me, like, again, I don't play basketball anymore. I only played up until, but I'm just saying, if you compare that to other things and you're saying like, no, fuck
I
that
agree.
guy, I want nothing to do with him. And then you're going like, okay, I'm up for that. Let me try it with this guy. Well,
Yeah,
you know which one's better then. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I loved Allen Iverson. And Iverson said one time when he saw Mike, he said that he couldn't breathe. Like, they're talking about Allen Iverson, who is as gangster as it comes in the NBA, who's probably not scared of nobody. He said when he saw Michael Jordan standing next to him, he said it was like a cartoon character. He was so like, he couldn't breathe. He was hyperventilating because he was standing next to Michael Jordan. This is Allen Iverson.
I understand that. Completely. I completely. So, like I said, whenever you're starting to go, first of all, LeBron is active right now.
Yeah, still.
Jordan, you remember Jordan? Most people weren't even born when Jordan was playing. So it's
exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? Like when he was, 95, 96 Bulls, like this is not even times where people were even around.
No.
You know what I mean?
It's
so
been
you're
a while.
still saying, is he one of the best? Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's it.
Jonathan, I love your new analogy now because it just put something in my brain, because I used to think that about Roy Jones Jr. If he would have stayed in his lane, we would be today talking about him like in the top 3 or 4 of all time. If he would have stayed in his lane, but he couldn't resist coming out of his lane, and that's where he kind of the demise happened to Roy. Then
you know where I think would have been like where you would say like, no, he's the best. If he would have retired after that Andy Ruiz fight.
Yes, that would have been
excuse me, John Ruiz. Excuse me,
John Ruiz. Yes, yeah.
He would have retired after that. They would have been like, I mean, what are you going to say now?
No, but that's what I'm saying. But because you were saying about staying in your lane, and it's like he just couldn't do it anymore. He was just so. I think he had like boxing ADD. It's like, oh, I just want to do this, and I want to do this, and
this. You see it all the time, especially when guys, are on the verge of retiring. You're going like, what else can I do? You start going, especially like I'll put it like this. There's so many guys that are good fighters right now, or were great fighters at one time, that physically they can train, they can work out, but they can't fight anymore. Not on a professional level, right? Now you put them in the gym against a couple of amateurs, good amateurs even. They're gonna beat the piss out of them. But on a professional level, it's not the same thing.
Right.
Well, now imagine when you're an active fighter and you've already cleared out the division, you're lapped the division. You know what I'm saying? Like there's nothing for you to do. You start looking like I could probably beat that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You made a highlight reel out of everybody you fought.
Everybody. Like you're knocking guys out with your hands behind your back. Like what do you do after that? What do you do after? Ask yourself that question. What do you do after you've knocked someone out with your hands behind your back? Think about that. You know what I'm saying? At that point, you start going like, all right, no, okay, that guy's kind of big, but I'm kind of ass. You know what? Let's see what happens.
Really good point.
And then in the time that takes, other guys are coming up, other people are getting better and developing, and then you start going like, okay, I'll go back down. I'm not gonna actually stay here at this. I was just challenging myself. I did it. Okay, now let me go back to where I really belong. That's where the problem happens, right? Because you can't. You don't. This is my thing with like, losing weight and everything too. You don't want to play with your body.
Yeah.
Like I said, like boxing is like the biggest mirror. You can't cut corners or do too much and expect your body to like be forgiving, because it's not that forgiving. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And like I tell fighters all the time with like losing weight and stuff, like you can sit in these saunas that you want to, and you can lay in these bathtubs with the Epsom salt or whatever, however else, people have their own methods, but there's no substitution for, treating your body treating your body right and working hard. And I think when you, in Roy's case, go up and down like that,
he did,
and you see it with, not even with Roy, you see it with other fighters when they, when they go up in weight, or when they lose their weight class, or they lose weight for the weight class, then they go into these fights and they balloon up. In a few fights of you getting to know them, they're in another weight class. And then you're saying, well, he don't look the same. It's like, no, he don't look the same, because he's in another weight class. First of all, you need new wrinkles and you need to develop your game.
That's true.
Because size matters, man. It doesn't matter. Like
it does. It does.
When you're talking about sports and anything, like size makes a difference. Unless you're like, especially when you're up, in these upper echelons of, whatever you're doing, athleticism makes a difference. These type of things make a difference. And you talk about guys going up and down in weight like this, like no, you gotta be careful about what's happening.
It's like Canelo. Same thing with Canelo. I mean, he wanted to go up, and he found out what happened when he went up. It's like
we're talking about
and we're talking about someone that no one even knew who he was. That was the worst part about it. He didn't go up. Like least when Roy did it, we kind of knew who he was fighting, and we're like, oh shit, When Canelo did it, we didn't even know who he was fighting. Like
Bivol, the biggest name, and I remember pretty vividly, like when he was talking about fighting like cruiserweight and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, respect to him for wanting to challenge himself. Like, but it's a different thing. You're talking about guys that, you might not ever be 200 pounds. These guys need to lose to make
200 pounds. Yeah.
And then, that's the other thing too. Skill is one thing, but I mean, there's not a flyweight in the world that I'm not going to knock out. Like, what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not an active fighter at all. Like,
it matters.
So, like I said, like, forget about it,
Well, before we let you go, Jonathan, like, what's next? What's coming up next for you? What's the big event coming up next?
I have a couple things. I'm coming off of so I have Gabriel Rosado. He's having an exhibition fight. He's eyeing fighting Edgar Berlanga. That's going to be good. He's fighting November let's see, the 12th. Don't quote me on that because I'm not.
Okay, we'll find out.
But it's middle November in Miami. Whatever. It's 2 Tuesday. It's not tomorrow. Not the next week. It's 2 Tuesdays from now. Anyway,
in Miami.
In Miami. It's gonna be a great card. Rigondeaux is actually headlining it. I think he's fighting for a title on that card, if I'm not mistaken. Gabe Rosado is the main event. Got him in camp right now. He's looking very, very good. After that, I have Gergen Hovhannissian. He's beautiful talent out of Armenia, 6-0, 6 knockouts. He fought in, let me see, 2022. He fought Michael Coffey for his, I think, fourth fight. He stopped Michael Coffey, who was like 13-2 at the time. He was like running his prospects, and Gook stopped him in like 6 rounds.
Is he the guy? Is he the guy I see on your social media, the big heavyweight guy?
I have 2 of them, so maybe I don't know which
Yeah.
one. He likes to shave his head, so if it's that guy. He's like 6'7", 300 pounds. So
yeah.
What the heck?
So but athletic, moves like you know, lightweights that don't move like that. So he'll also be fighting in mid-December. I have Vlad Panin. He's also fighting December 5th here in LA. Keeping him busy. Vlad's in this like weird situation. You know, I talked to you earlier about development and progression. Well, he's progressed quite a bit.
Is Vlad's downfall that he's white?
I don't know that. I think it's more. I would say this.
No one's ever said that before. But what I'm saying.
You know what's funny though? You know what is funny though? So he has. If you look at his box rec, he has probably like 8 or 9 consecutive knockouts.
Yes, he does.
And he's a 6-foot welterweight.
Yes.
Now, as a trainer, if you give me 3 or 4 guys and say pick from these guys, and I see 6-foot welterweight on a string of knockouts, I'm going, okay, definitely not this guy.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll take a southpaw before I take this guy.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. And then also, you know, a 6-foot welterweight with a bunch of knockouts, and you see him fight, he's pretty quick. And then he looks like Bieber. I'm not trying to lose to Bieber, but he's been knocking out everybody. You know what I mean? So, you know.
Yeah, I'm a big Vlad fan, and I know at the end it will work out for him. But he's gonna have to take the long way home, and that's what it's gonna take because, unfortunately, listen, he's lost 1 fight in his entire career, and the person that he lost to has retired.
Yeah, was also undefeated, and it was one of his earlier fights.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. That's how bizarre it is because he's retired. Because I actually wanted to get that fight done here, and it was funny because they said no, he retired, and it's like, you know, when you meet Vlad and you see his kind of like his kind of philosophy, and that must filter down from you. He can be a world champ in the division. There's no question. It's just how that's going to take place. That's up to you guys. You know what I mean?
But there's a lot that goes into all that, you know, positioning, timing, even, you know.
Timing.
Yeah. So like I said, there's a lot into it. And I'll put like this. Vlad is one of the guys in my gym that legit trains. Like I have to tell him to like, don't come to the gym today.
Yeah, just go home.
Yeah. I legit have to tell him that sometimes. Like, what are you doing? And then he'll still go like sneak and run in. You know what I mean? Like, you need to recover, dog. Like, chill. You know, and I don't say that like really, you know, I don't really say that, but like he's one of the guys I have to tell him to do.
Is that right?
If you look at his body year round, it doesn't really change. It's just a matter of that's going to fight at. Today we left the gym. We just got a fight date today for the 5th of December, and he left the gym today 11 pounds over the welterweight limit.
Oh, Jesus.
Like he keeps his body in shape year round. He really likes his body in that way, you know. Like he's about what he looks like. So you know, like I said, he's one of those guys I have to train. That I train year round, and we keep him ready in that regard.
Yes, of course.
After him, I have a tentative fight. We're getting the paperwork sorted out, but Sergey Lipinets, former world champion. Fought Lamont Peterson, fought Jaron Ennis, fought Mike Garcia. He's supposed to be fighting either in December or January. Gonna get him back in. He's one of those guys that's always in title contention because he's just that good. I mean, seriously, that guy, he's a different type of person.
So you have a lot coming at the end of the year. You're gonna finish pretty strong here.
Yeah, and by the time all that finishes, the beginning of next year, I just won. My fighter won there was a U.S. version of the WBC that Jared Anderson lost when he lost to Bacoli, and we just picked that one up since it was vacant.
Oh, good.
Cool.
So now I think he's like top 30 or something like that. So we'll be, you know, positioning him to do some good stuff. He's a Sodny Rugava is who I'm talking about. That's his name. He's from Georgia, lives in Ukraine. He within a year of boxing, he made the Olympic team in Ukraine.
Jeez.
Yeah, no joke.
So these are as a heavyweight too. So
Wow.
these are.
And you reside in which part of California?
I live in Los Angeles County. It's
Okay.
People know LA, but like when you think of LA, you think like Hollywood. Maybe.
Yeah, you're not there.
I'm in the valley.
Yeah.
In the valley.
So maybe where I live is maybe like 20 minutes from the beach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
So
Isn't it hotter in the valley? It's
It is.
hotter.
Yeah.
Hotter.
we're like in a bowl between these mountains.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's right. No, because I know the guy from $1 Million Listing, with Josh Altman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And he always told me before, it's like, if you live in the valley, it's hotter. It's hotter.
It is harder, but it's better, and we got less traffic.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Move
You
to
know,
the
I
valley.
like it. Plus, my gym's here. So
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
that's that's what the rest of the year, and then anything else that comes my way, I'm excited for it. You haven't met him yet, but I'm thinking I'm trying to get him out there to Canada. But Simbatar Erdenbet, he just won a version of the WBO or WBA, I can't remember. Two-time Olympian.
Wow.
Um,
What country is he from?
Mongolia.
Wow.
Oh, shit.
He's a superstar out there. Like his last fight, they had on a live stream, they had over 450,000 views to watch him fight. Yeah, he's a very, very good talent. He's been developing very well. I've had him for maybe like 4 or 5 fights now.
Wow.
Yeah. So like I said, these are things that I'm super excited for coming up. So.
Awesome.
Well, thanks so much for joining us and spending your time and your busy schedule, obviously, with all these guys. But hey, everybody watching, like, you need to follow Jonathan. He doesn't like social media, but you'll like his. And so follow
We'll
him.
post it everywhere when you start following him too, everybody. Don't worry. He's like he might soften up a little bit in this next year, you know what I mean? Just a titch. So
Like I said, people keep telling me the same shit, so there must be something to that.
Keep the same thing you're doing and say that you don't care about it, and it'll actually work out better, probably.
yeah, definitely.
Maybe I should start off small, like start posting stuff on my story, even.
Yeah, that'll work.
Posting stuff like once a week or something like that.
Totally.
One of my good friends, he always tells me like, yeah, bro, I can help you a little bit, and it's funny because he's great at it, and I still like, man, I don't care about that. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's I don't know. Maybe I'll stop being stubborn in that way.
Yeah.
Well, we really
thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Seriously appreciate it.
Awesome, bro. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Thanks. We'll talk to you soon. We'll have you back. That was a great
Please.
talk. Yeah,
Awesome.
That was awesome.
Awesome,
Thank you
bro.
so much for joining us
Awesome.
tonight.
Please, talk to you guys soon.
All right.
buddy.
Bye.
That was Jonathan Walley, everybody. Trainer to the stars, should we say.
Yeah. Jeez, man.
Yeah, I mean,
Guy's awesome.
the list of guys. I mean, Joe Goossen, he's with Joe Goossen, Amir Khan, Chris Ariola, Andre Berto, Ryan Garcia, and Vlad Pennin. I mean, it's nuts.
Yeah, it
nuts. You know what I mean? This guy trains everybody. And I know he doesn't do a lot of interviews, but I kind of was like, I was kind of prodding and poking him to do some, just because I thought, let's talk to people that know. I like that about the Me and Jesse podcast. I like talking to Kelly Rudy that knows about hockey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not just hockey, but about life.
Totally.
And then you got guys like, Louis DeBrusque and those guys that they're more analytical when they speak. And that's what I really enjoy. And I enjoy those kind of guests on the show. And I enjoy having, guys like Jonathan on the show just because of that analytic mind. And as well as Sugar Hill when he was on the show, right? Tyson Fury's trainer.
Yeah.
Same thing. He has that analytical mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Thanks, Crystal Glass. This episode's been presented by Crystal Glass. Call 310 Glass or visit crystalglass.ca.
Your clear choice for all your glass needs, everybody.
And make sure you follow us on all social media. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube here, because that's what you do. And you want to hear more.
Every week, guys. Every week from the NHL, NFL, NBA.
Send us the people that you want on the show, because we'll try to get them in the new year. But send those people that you really want to see and you want to hear more from.
I like that.
Let us know. And you can message me or Mark or at Me and Jesse podcast across social media. So send us a message and be sure to follow Jonathan as well, because class act.
He really is.
Yeah.
And when I met him in person, I watched how he kind of conducted himself, and I'm like, you know, when you go, who's that guy? He's that guy.
Yeah.
He's like, you're
well,
like,
hey, Joe, Joe does that with him, right? Like when he's 16, 17 and, you know,
Yeah.
like a kid and saw something different.
And Joe Goossen is like on the same level as like those world-class trainers in the world that have like, they're the top of the top. He's in that category with Emmanuel Stewart and, you know, Joe Goossen and those kind of guys. And it's like, you know, he's been with them for, you know, what, 14 years.
Yeah,
you know?
a long time. Yeah. Well, everybody, that's Mark Pavlich over there. I'm Jesse Martineau. This has been the Me and Jesse podcast. Thanks once again to Jonathan for joining us. And we'll see you next time, everybody. Tune in next week, Monday, for another episode of the Me and Jesse podcast. Have a good night.
Thanks for watching the Me and Jesse podcast. Follow us at facebook.com/Me and Jesse.